This is, I think, the perfect show for both of you and your talents. Janusz, what brought you back to TV?
Oh, it's actually a really interesting story because, after Bake Off, I wrote my book and like things were happening. And then suddenly, I saw this competition online and I was like, oh my God, this is such a great story. And yeah, it just sort of rolled after this and the show happened.
Kieran, how did he rope you into joining him?
I'm gonna answer this question. I'm really sorry
Okay.
because I knew it is a couple's baking, and when I sort of got the application and everything to a show, I knew who I want to apply with. There wasn't another person I would do a show with, just because I work with Kieron in a professional setting, and I've learned so many things from him when we were baking. For example, how to peel an orange and cut it into nice little pieces. One of those when I was standing there in the kitchen with a knife and just paring the orange bit by bit. And then he came to me and he was like, no, babe, listen, that's not how you do it. So I sort of knew straight away who I want to do it with. And there was no double doubting myself.
Hopefully, I have more skills than just peeling oranges.
Peeling in oranges, yes. We'll
Okay.
find out this week, right? Won't we find?
We will indeed. Yeah. No, as soon as Janusz told me about the show, and asked me if I would be part of it, there was honestly no doubt in my mind. I was like, of course, like how many times would does a person get this kind of opportunity? Like it sounds like a crazy concept, and because we I'd never seen it either. I'd never heard of the show. So baking shows like that just don't exist in the UK. So I was like, let's do this, like absolutely. And yeah,
Yeah, it was really funny because like we got onto the show without actually watching it before. And then we were like, maybe it's time to watch it.
we
Time
went
to
through the
watch it,
whole
yes.
audition process and found out we were on the show, and all the while we'll find an episode, we'll be able to stream it somehow, and we just never could. And then we got onto the show and finally was able to watch an episode, and I was like, my God, this is crazy. Is it too late to pull out? No, just kidding.
Janusz, was the hardest part of signing on for Crime Scene Kitchen letting Nigel be single parented again since you were without your partner at the end?
I mean, it is always difficult to leave people who you love behind, but it's like Bake Off. Some things are really important in life and you need to do it. And it's only a couple of weeks that you actually leave for, and then you're back, high, full of energy, on a hype. And it's sometimes it's really nice to have this little break because you appreciate things more.
I'm very interested because it's family week and friend week back and forth between the two of them. Did you get to meet the families immediately, Kieran, or did you get to meet them only after you all combined
Only
week?
after we were combined, yeah. We were all staying in the same hotel, but we didn't know who each other were. So I didn't
Yeah.
know that any of the teams were the teams until we saw them on the show. Even the Friends teams, we didn't see them until we were on the show, and we were there for a few days before. So we could have seen these people, but we just didn't know who they were.
I'm interested in the cute shirts you guys are wearing in them. Is it something that they ask you to coordinate your outfits based on maybe the coloring of what they tell you your kitchen will be in, a coloring of the kitchen, because every kitchen has a different lighting? Or is it just something you guys picked and they sort of thought, okay, let's go with it?
I think outfits are always really important for shows, and especially for me, I knew that like when I went on Bake Off, I knew I want to represent, and I've done all the colorful T-shirt throughout my
Mm.
season, which I've managed, which is great. If it was only 3 episodes, I wouldn't say a word. But the same was with Crimes in Kitchen, where we wanted the show. We went as friends, and when you're baking together, you want to be sort of coordinated. You want to look like you are together in this kitchen baking.
Yeah. When we had our initial call with the wardrobe department, I was wearing a little neck scarf, and they loved that, and they kind of ran with that. And they're like, every episode we'll have a neck scarf on you, Kieran, and we'll do different colors. And I was like, okay, let's go for it. Absolutely.
So then you
That
pick
is
out your
something
own
that
outfits, or do they provide the outfits then for you?
A bit of both. They
Nice.
would we would take our own things, and they would either accessorize them or change something to match, make sure that we
they
match.
were really good because I took 3 massive suitcases and they were sort of really able to pick my pieces and just put them together and accessorize them really nicely. So it looks like a great outfit that I probably would never put together just by having the same things in my suitcase. They were really good.
Now, I have to ask you about Joel because he's full of one-liners and he's probably hard to keep a straight face around.
Mhm.
Kieran, American humor, though, is a little bit maybe different than British humor. Was it easy to follow and maybe hard to keep it together, though, still?
I mean, Joel cracks me up. I think he's hilarious, and he has it, American sense of humor for sure, but it's also very sarcastic, which I think British sense of humor is also. And yeah, he has some cutting one lines, but I'm a huge fan of Joel.
And as well, always when he was coming to our kitchen, it seemed like, he was overstaying his welcome because we would just talk to him and talk. And they were like, I think we need to bake now.
Yeah.
I'm interested in finding out from you all when you initially step in and you see the other bakers and they sort of introduce you to you finally, each of the family members, was there someone that you had an eye on quickly that would be some stiff competition for you?
It is really interesting because when we first stepped in, there was two people I've actually recognized from the very beginning.
Mm.
Just because I followed them on Instagram and they followed me as well. And one of the bakers, we actually chatted on Instagram even before the show. So then when we see each other, we're like, hmm, hmm.
You both were keeping secrets, so those were ones to keep an eye out for. That's interesting.
I
Um,
didn't know these. I didn't know who they were, but it's hard to know who's your competition. Everyone is competition at the end of the day, and especially with a show like this, it doesn't necessarily matter how strong of a baker you are. Of course, it helps, but being a good detective is the most important.
yes.
I know, I
You
know.
you can't even if you follow somebody on Instagram and know that they're a great baker, you have no idea what they're going to be like in the crime scene kitchen.
Yes, it's important for you all. I was watching again last night, and it's very important, actually, maybe even more important, to know the clues around the kitchen and sort of pick up on those. Certainly, you have to be a decent baker to be able to make whatever the product is that you've decided is the challenge.
Hmm.
But when you're in there and you have 2 minutes, there's not maybe enough time for you to check every single aspect of that kitchen to find a recipe. Were these all recipes you knew off the top of your head when you were trying to figure it out, or did you guys wing it some of the times when you figured out what you were trying to make?
2 minutes in a crime scene kitchen is definitely not enough, and everybody knows it. It's just 2 minutes. The time goes by so quick that you're just like, how I even haven't looked above the kitchen. That's
Hmm.
when communication is really important, and I think some of the people may fail because you've discovered this, somebody else discovered a different clue, and you need to somehow together puzzle it. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, it doesn't make sense. Oh, that was the decoy because I've seen this. So communication is really the key as well after you've done the crime scene kitchen investigation. Of course, sometimes you're not gonna find all the clues
Mm.
and you need to take a wild guess. It might take you in the right direction, but it might take you even more away from the bake that was actually created in this kitchen.
Yeah, that's very
Did
true.
you have a plan going into the kitchen? Like, okay, Kieran, you'll take, certain appliances and I'll take, or this half of the kitchen so that we can divide and conquer. Or at that point, it was just, okay, you find what you can find, I find what I find. We'll come back eventually and try to piece things together in the kitchen.
No, we've
So
just run like a headless chickens. That was our strategy. There was absolutely
I'm
no strategy in
no,
us.
we did have the first time we went into the kitchen, I said, why don't we go around together so we can see things together and say, oh, this is almonds, this is this, what do you think this could be? And we go all the way around together,
And then
and then
after,
we have
and then
we
time
missed.
ran out after first clue. Done.
Yeah, like we realized quickly that that approach was probably not the best idea because we missed half the kitchen.
And then you have to change the approach.
Yeah.
So
Did
that's why I said our approach was just different every single time.
Yeah.
Yanis, did you have to do anything or did you try to do anything to prepare ahead of time for this? Or is there nothing you can really do? You just need to be a good baker and sort of, have
With,
good skills as far as like, picking things up.
with all the shows, it is such a short notice before you actually get the call to the time you leave to do the show that there isn't that much time to prepare.
Hmm.
So your knowledge that you sort of gained throughout the years of baking is really important, I would say. But as well, I knew that my downfall would be probably knowledge of American baking. Because,
Mm.
I'm from Poland. I'm very used to Eastern European baking. That's something I'm really comfortable with. I live in UK, so I've learned sort of British way of baking. I learned British dessert, British classic puddings as well. And then I was like, oh, so it's so different in UK from Poland. How different it will be in United States. So I bought myself a couple of like Southern baking books just to get a grip. I read them through, but that's I think all you can do. There isn't that much because it's such a short time. If it was like you've got 1 year to prepare. Oh my God, I would
Yeah,
do
yeah.
everything.
But also, you can't know everything, You
No,
just have to have a base understanding and be a strong enough baker to hopefully get you through because it could literally be anything. And
for anything, yeah.
you obviously can just never prepare for that. So it's kind of have your initiative to be able to wing it, but and have the knowledge to fall back on. But yeah, you can't really prepare for a show like that.
Well, Yanush's was used to harsh critiques from Paul Hollywood and Peru as far as his bake. So I'm sure Curtis and Yolanda were not as cutting as as a British Bake Off commentary. Kieran, what was it like for you, sort of getting the critiques on your bake, though?
They were really lovely actually. They always come up with a real positive, and if there's negatives, then they'll obviously give you those as well. But they're really, really nice judges.
And it was really balanced
It
as
it
well.
was such well balanced. I was also on a TV show called Bake Off the Professionals, which is a spin-off show to
The Great British
the
Bake Off.
Great British Bake Off, and the critiques on that show were so harsh, like really cutting, and I was kind of surprised. So I was going into this expecting the same kind of harsh critiques, and they were just so lovely. Like I wanted to cuddle them every time they gave us any feedback. I was like, "Oh, Yolanda likes our bake!" Like, yeah.
But just to say, yeah, I watched the Bake of the Professionals and they go to very nitty gritty and they are brutal on this
Hmm.
show. Bake of the Professionals, they are so brutal.
Did you learn anything or take away anything from your time on Crime Scene Kitchen as far as baking, or is this just a fun experience for the both of you that you got to really enjoy some time in the States and meet some wonderful people?
But we definitely met wonderful people, and I can say from my experience, I know that Bake Off after Bake Off, I could meet so many amazing people. So
Hmm.
hopefully after the show, I will be able to meet plenty new people as well. Definitely get experience. We really bonded as well because we were
Yeah.
stuck with each other for so long, literally, and baking together as well. I've definitely developed as a baker as well because every single time I'm working with Kieron, I feel like I'm learning something new and can observe the techniques, how he's working. That definitely develops me as a baker as well.
Mm.
And how to present your food as well. Because sometimes I do a really amazing bake, and then I'm like, yeah, that's great, bye. But watching Kieron, I know how to present it now as well, how to elevate it, how to make it look even nicer.
Karen, did you learn anything from your time on Crime Scene?
I mean, I definitely learned a lot about being on camera, of course, and dealing with a lot of things under pressure for sure. Learning the differences between a production in the UK and a production in the States is so vastly different. Like the production values of everything that goes into a show like Crime Scene Kitchen is crazy. But yeah, just I met so many wonderful people, and I hope to see them all again. And again, like Janusz said, we just spent so much time together and bonded because we were so close. We were practically living in the same room. We had adjoining rooms in the hotel, so we were always like in and out. Um, and yeah, it was just a great experience, and one I'll cherish forever, for sure.
Okay, well, then I have to ask you both, would you do another baking show?
I definitely would.
Give me a couple of months, okay? Give me a couple of months and I will. I
Yeah.
said after Bake Off, yeah, I'm done, thank you.
I
And
think
here I go again.
I think after Bake Off the Professionals, I said never. But it'd been so like such a long time since I did that show that I forgot the trauma and I was ready to go and I was willing to do it again. And I had a nicer experience on this show. Maybe because I was with Janusz and it was just a very different type of show. So I'm not as scarred from this
Yeah,
one.
because like on this show, if it's a cake, you're making one cake.
Yeah,
On his show, if it was a cake, you're making 120 of those
yeah,
cakes.
exactly,
So I'm
exactly.
not blaming him for
And they have to
Yeah,
be
this.
such and such tall, and they have to have
yeah.
this
It has to dish
elements.
out sugar and it has to rotate and move on its own and like yeah, crazy. Yeah.
Janusz, I know you have an incredible book out. Are you working on any other projects that you can tease?
Well, you know what it's like with life? Sometimes you get a project that you cannot talk about, and you can only say that probably you might see a little bit more of me soon.
Mhm.
Keiron, what about you? Have you anything in the works?
And he might be involved in the project.
Oh, all right, stay
You might be
tuned.
planning something.
This is such a wonderful show for both of you. And I know that representation is a big part of your brand, Janusz. What can people do to get more involved, or what would you like them to really know about representation and why it's so important for you?
I mean, for me, especially visibility is something that is really important. So I am from Poland, and I remember when I was a young boy, I have never seen two men holding hands on the street. That's not something you would witness in Poland. And when I moved to UK, initially only for 6 months to improve my English, well, 14 years later, still improving my English. I came to Brighton and I've just seen this an amazing open community. And I really realized that there is a part of me that was missing in Poland, and I sort of find my place on the planet, which is really great and really cool. But that's why I want to show other people that it is really important. And for other people, it's really important to know that you can be an ally, and that's fantastic. And please be an ally.
Yeah, agreed.